went through the April one.
Oh, even
Ah,
more
April.
quickly.
Yeah.
Well, now
So,
what did you get hired in real quick?
so I got hired as a patient recruitment coordinator.
Yes, okay. For, well, you don't have to mention who it is live on the show, but can you give the type of organization at least?
So it's through Vitalis Clinic.
Ah, okay. They're pretty big.
Yeah, and they're expanding over here in the Houston area. And it's funny because I actually interviewed for a coordinator position, and this other patient recruitment position wasn't even posted, but they were like, I think you have the skill set to
Ah,
really do this. And so the pay was the same, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. So,
oftentimes that'll happen. I've noted even at these big ones, even at these bigger clinics, but definitely at the smaller ones. Like Chris and I both run our own smaller clinics. Like the jobs we'll post for, we might get just like any other clinic, a bunch of applicants, but the job we have jobs in the back of our minds that only like a few people know about.
mhm.
And we always say to ourselves, hey, if the right person comes around, we're not advertising for this, but we can put them in this role.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what happened here. And they had said it's not a new position, but they're kind of revamping it a little bit. So they had said, you might be a great fit for this position, as this is your first entry level role into the industry. It'd be great to be able to shape it, kind of where you see yourself fit. So,
Wow. For the viewers watching and listening, by the way, guys and gals, we just start the podcast. There's no like formal intro. It's a running start. Alexis just got hired. She came through the CRA Academy. Uh, can you give us a little bit of your background? People always watching or listening like to see themselves in your shoe, and if we can make that easier for them, maybe.
yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Alexis Reese, and I grew up in the Dallas, Texas area, went to school at Texas A&M Commerce and got my bachelor's in science, actually in music education. So totally different background. So started, teaching as a choir director for 3 years in the Dallas area, and then made a move over to Houston, to be closer to my husband's family and taught for 3 years there. So the past 3 years that I've been here in Houston, I've been kind of trying to figure out, like, is this something that I see myself full time? And then my mother-in-law, she works in clinical research. And so she is pretty much the reason why I even found out about it or knew, that you did not necessarily have to have a medical background. So I started doing some research back in 2022, and then I guess it was in March this past year, stumbled across Dan and Chris's audiobook, which highly recommend.
Wow,
Um,
thank you. You just made
yeah,
Chris's day. Chris is
Dan's got it right there conveniently.
oh yeah, this is why it's here. This is why it's here.
yeah, absolutely. It really gave me a more clear view of the research industry and kind of all the different possibilities that were out there. And then heard about the CRA Academy through the audiobook. And at first I was like, man, I wish I lived in California so I could do this and be there. But then I realized it was remote, or you could do it remote.
You know what?
So,
I'm gonna pull an audible here, Chris. You could get mad at me later. Listen, you're in patient recruitment. It's now for those watching in the future. Hello from the future. Hopefully everything's still okay. But it's September 9th, 2024. In March of 2025, we're doing a Save Our Sites conference in Oklahoma City. One, if not multiple panels are going to be on patient recruitment. And you are exactly the kind of person we would want on because by then you'll have like maybe 9 months of experience, 6 or 7. It's
right.
actually perfect to get you on. We will pay, me and Chris will pay to fly you out and
Okay.
we'll figure out the hotel. We'll probably give you a code or something for free. Uh, and you will be on the panel, all right? I just got to put this in the notes so we don't forget.
Well, are you comfortable being in front of 1,000 people and
Oh yeah,
talking?
we didn't even ask if you're comfortable.
Yeah, I know I would be honored. I would be so happy to do it.
And you could
I've
tell
said
your
it
new employer,
before.
look, I already got us a spot at SOS for free.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much.
I'm curious. In Houston, do you, as a patient recruiter, I would think you'd need to be at least able to speak Spanish. Is that a requirement for what you're doing? Do you speak Spanish?
I don't speak Spanish. I can kind of understand some, a little bit, but definitely not fluent or anything
Hmm.
like that. That was not one of the big requirements for this role, so
Interesting.
it's
I would
probably,
think that would be very important in Houston. I don't
yeah.
live in Houston. I've only been to the airport there, so I have no idea what the requirements are in that regard. But I mean, maybe I guess it's not that important that you're bilingual there.
I think it would be a plus, but
Yeah.
uh, I guess it just
Okay.
depends on exactly what they need at that time.
Got it. Got it. So their patient population primarily is probably fluent in English, it sounds like,
Yeah.
the primary patient population you deal with. What kind of specialties in terms of therapeutic area do you work in? Do you know?
So to be honest, my first day is tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
That's
a
why I asked. That's why I threw
professor.
that qualifier in there. Do
Well,
you
this is why
know yet?
tomorrow you're gonna, or once you feel safe, you're gonna say, "Hey, the people that gave me my training, they got me a SOS for free, and you guys don't even have to pay to be represented at their conference." And
Yeah,
you're gonna be on the panel. I just put the note in our shared drive. So,
perfect.
boom. Hopefully, you're still there by then. I think you will be.
Yeah.
It's gonna be our goal. You're actually gonna, I think you're gonna do fairly well based on just talking to you here for this podcast so far. I think you have the demeanor for good patient
I
recruitment.
would
So
agree. I would agree. I do have another question though. I'm curious. So you read the book or you listened to the Audible?
Mhm.
Which was it, or both?
So I listened to the audiobook.
Okay. Um, and then you didn't feel that was enough information. You had to take the CRA Academy. I mean,
That's a great question. So, listening to the audiobook, so back in 2022, I did take a course through CCRPS that kind of gave me a little bit intro with the acronyms and got me some kind of background. And then through the audiobook, I think more so it just confirmed that this really was what I was interested in doing. And I really liked the fact that the CRA Academy had that hands-on internship experience because that's what I felt like I was really missing. Because back in 2022, when I took this other course, I just had the online class. I didn't have the hands-on. And I think it was a really big jump going from being an educator to clinical research. And so I felt like it was all just kind of like meant to be. Like I listened to the audiobook and I was like, I really want to do it. The class is coming up in 3 weeks. So just tried to find a way to make it happen. And I'm really thankful that I did because it's really what I needed to break in to the industry.
so the internship you felt was helpful. Um, and I'm gonna guess. So Dan and I, a little tangent here. Occasionally we have to do a class, or occasionally we have to do a meeting. So in your class, it was Tiffany who was the weekly live instructor.
Tiffany
Uh,
Shanae Bennett, shout out to her. TSB.
and one of our biggest complaints, at least mine, Dan doesn't really complain too much, but I complain more, um, is that students don't ask questions. I'm gonna guess you asked some questions
I
in the
did.
Saturday classes.
I
I
think I
did.
remember Alexis on the Q&A session with us asking questions.
Well,
I
no, I
don't.
did not. And I was really upset because I couldn't
Ah,
figure out what time it was. And I was really bummed that I
ah,
missed it.
dang it. All right,
Did.
all right.
I was like, man, I missed it. But definitely in my Saturday classes, definitely asked questions and made sure that I was really understanding because I knew I was really serious about it. And, I decided back in during the class, so in April, I was still teaching at the time, and I did make the decision to just say, okay, this is my last year. I'm really going to dive in. And so I ended up resigning at the end of the last school year. And so just really had to go all in at that point. So
Wow.
What what grade were you teaching?
I was teaching middle school.
Okay.
Did
So
your, oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was just curious, as a teacher, did it bother you when students didn't ask questions? Or no, you were just glad the class was over?
Um, it did bother me when students didn't ask questions. Since I did teach choir, it was a little bit different than like
Oh, okay.
standard
So
classroom.
music.
So music, which
My
kind of
daughter would love you. Sorry to interrupt.
no problem. Which kind of makes you think, students have to think in a different way for music, but there still can be a lot of questions to be asked, right?
Sure.
Uh, so one of the things that I did try to teach my students is ask questions, because if you're asking, that shows that you are interested and
Engaged.
you're learning. Exactly.
Yep.
And so, definitely that's one of the things too, where I was like, I really need to ask questions, try to figure out what I want to ask, and was super helpful to have those Saturday classes to be able to do so.
Dang, this is so good. I mean, like Chris is definitely on here doing his job of promoting the academy, and I love that. By the way, October class signing up right now. But Alexis, what I'm interested in is your transferable skills and the interview process. So, just walk me through how you found the job, like specifics, like what website, and then what did you do? How many did you apply to approximately? And then what was the whole process like? How long did you have to wait for a reply back? Did you have to follow up? Just as detailed as you can or as you can remember.
Okay. Yeah, so I did the internship, and then once I got approved with my monitoring reports, was sent to Ashley, which she was great, really, really love her. And she helped me, really go through my resume and help me get it in the best shape and really highlight all of those transferable skills. So once I, met with Ashley and got my resume ready, then I went ahead and just started trying to be more present on LinkedIn, because, as an educator, really I hadn't used it too much because I didn't really need to in that kind of sense. And so trying to be more present on LinkedIn. And then I spent a lot of my time first just applying for positions through LinkedIn. Like I had the alert set up, looking for a coordinator, CRA, just really anything to get into the industry. And then I actually kept like a Excel spreadsheet, like of all the jobs that I had applied for, just so I could look back and say, okay, have I heard back from this company? Or just to kind of keep it, streamlined. Um, and so then I guess it had been maybe 150 job applications later. Um,
Whoa, hold on. This part's important. Just for people to understand. 150. Not three, not one.
It's a
I
job to
did.
get a job. It's a job to get a job.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I was able to really see like how many was I applying to, what website. So the majority was through LinkedIn, which, sometimes of course they lead you to the company's website, right?
Right.
But actually the position that I found, because I kind of got burnt out like through LinkedIn, I was like, I'm not really gaining a lot of interviews or hardly anything at all, just kind of applying out there and not hearing anything back. So I actually went to Indeed. I was like, well, let me try Indeed. And this is where this position came from, was Indeed. Um, and I think I had applied and then maybe heard back from them maybe 5 days later, wanting to do an interview, and actually got a couple of interviews for other places through Indeed as well. So that really was the biggest place for me that ended up getting a lot of interviews, or a couple of interviews. I won't say a lot, because honestly, I really only had 3 interviews total from 150 job postings, which is, it's crazy, but you do what you can, right? Um, so through Indeed, they reached out, gave me a call, said, would you like to interview? Of course. And it was in person, which, for me, just trying to get into the industry, I really liked in-person interview, because, you can actually see them face to face, talk to them, and just really kind of show them who you are, to kind of get into that role.
Now, the interview itself. Okay, so when did you have this job that you got hired for? Did you actually receive back hear back from other companies too, or was this the
Mm.
first, or what was that
So
like?
yeah, so I did have a phone screen interview with another company, maybe that week before that. And then this was my second interview. And I had
Okay.
previously, or so my second interview total, but my first with that company, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it was just one interview. I really did not have any other like offers or anything
Mhm.
online at that point, but I just knew that when I went to that interview and did the interview, I could see myself really fitting in with that company and
Yeah.
working with that team.
What did they
And
ask you? Like, what did that one ask you?
yeah, so, first they asked me about my background. They said kind of fill me in the gaps between being an educator to clinical research. So kind of filled them in there. And then they asked me a little bit more research specific questions, like, what did your day-to-day look like as an intern, as a CRA? Like, what does that look like? Because I think they want to see how you manage your time, right? So I went through the process of like, okay, how did I actually do these reports and gather information all remote? And they were asking, do you prefer remote? Do you prefer in
Oh, so they
person?
asked specific. So let's just walk through that like a minute maybe.
Yeah.
Hey Alexis, what was your day-to-day like during the internship that you were doing here?
Yeah, so my internship, it was remote. We had access to the trial online through Intralinks. And basically, what I spent my time doing was first going through the patient source documents and trying to figure out, okay, are these in order? Um, some of them were not. So I was like, okay, let me figure out how I want to organize these to be the most efficient and make the most sense to make sure I don't miss anything. So I went through and actually created like a Google Drive, put everything in order, put them in folders just to make sure I had everything or the story clear. Um, and then, went through and just read through the documents, referred to the protocol, made sure that everything was aligned, and then just kind of went through and took notes first, and then kind of went back and said, okay, this needs to go here, this needs to go in this space, and just kind of broke it down that way. That was what I found was the easiest, at least for the first one to figure out exactly how I wanted to do it. It did take me a while, to do the first one. It probably took me, I don't know, like 15 hours. Yeah.
And it's
Um,
oncology, it's a new language basically, like you gotta learn. And I saw on your LinkedIn, I just sent you a request by the way, but the course Introduction to Breast Cancer that you took. So you did everything the right way, like you learned the fundamentals, really everything from first principles.
yes, exactly. I really wanted to just learn as much as possible, so that I had more knowledge and information. So yeah, so went through and just really took the time, didn't try to shortcut anything, just to really learn how to do my monitoring report. And then, once I did the first one, the second one, of course, was easier. It didn't take as much time, but still wanted to make sure that I was being super detailed and documented everything appropriately. So, I did tell them, just really wanted to make sure that I was giving quality documents and not trying to shortcut or just if it was too detailed, kind of like y'all said in the class, right? If it's too detailed, I would rather you tell me like, hey, you don't need to add all of this. And I'm like, okay, I can cut back from there versus, well, why is it not enough? Why is there not enough information?
Yeah.
So
Let
that,
them tell you, them
yeah,
being your manager, that you're doing too much. All right. Don't ever trust me, guys. I'm a manager myself. I'd rather tell you, hey, slow down. You're doing way too much than you're not doing enough. And most people lean towards the latter.
exactly. So, and that's one of my like strong like strengths is just being super detailed and organized. Like I love that kind of stuff. So it was kind of, I would say, fun in a way to try to figure out how I was going to approach this. It was kind of like a puzzle, trying to figure it out for me. Um, so yeah, so I did two reports with the internship. And then, I was basically, Casey was like, go ahead and work on your CV, get out there. Um, so
Casey, that's a shout out to Casey. Casey's the
yeah.
intern. Okay, Casey would be really happy to hear this. And Chris, we're gonna make Casey go to this SOS conference. She missed out last year.
Oh,
She's not missing out this year.
I don't think she missed out. She just didn't want to go.
Yeah, no, no. She thought, okay, these guys are their first conference. It's not gonna last long. You were wrong, Casey. We're here to stay. Okay, so Alexis, when the during the interview, besides the questions they asked, like, because you were still interviewing for the Did they call you in to interview for the coordinator role and then present the recruitment job during, or was
Uh,
it before?
so I did the coordinator interview. That's what they
Mm.
called me in for. And then I left. And then a couple of days later, they called and said, we do have this other role that we really feel like you would be a great fit for.
Ah, okay. I think I know what happened. They had a bunch of people applying because the job market really sucks right now.
Yeah,
And in your case, like you did have experience because of the academy and the internship, but somebody applied that probably left another site that was already coordinating, but
right.
they didn't want to lose you either because they saw a lot of potential in you. So they had that position saved for someone like you. So they want you to be a coordinator basically soon.
Right. And that's what they did say. They said, we saw a lot of talent, you have a lot of great qualities, and we didn't want to pass you up. So, we want
Mm.
to try to give you this position. So, yeah, it was all about it. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So,
I've been in that situation before, the employer side, and I've come across like, oh man, I want to hire both of these people, but we can only hire one right now, but let's make a role for this other one. Like we do need help in recruitment. All right, let's see how she does and eventually get her on the coordinator side. So that's awesome.
yeah, I'm very excited. I'm excited to start and just learn and grow and just very ambitious to get going.
What the kind of site, I guess we can talk more at the SOS panel if you agree to be on, but is it multi-therapeutic or are there certain indication that they're focused on?
It's multi-therapeutic. They
That's
actually have
awesome.
like a clinic and all of that there on the site. So they can do all their labs there. They have all the records and everything. So it's pretty much like in-house right
And
there.
it seems like a big company, like a big site.
Yeah, I know she said that they're growing. So they're gonna expand more in the Houston area. So there's
Mm.
a lot of growth there that's in the works, which is exciting.
Well, shout out to them, and hopefully the somebody joins you at SOS, but you'll be representing them. That's awesome. Congrats, Alexis. And the thing is, now that you're experienced, or now that you're gonna have, besides the internship experience, you're gonna have like recruitment experience, and then again, eventually coordinator experience. Now it becomes easier for you to develop your career. And
Right.
you do I'm trying to see your educational background. You have a master's?
I have a bachelor's in science.
Oh, bachelor in science. Okay. With that, you're gonna be able to do all kinds of things afterwards. If you want to eventually be a CRA. I know I have a few coordinators. Two of my four that I have so far have bachelors, and both have indicated they want to be CRAs at some point. So the site's like the perfect training ground for eventually being CRA.
Mhm.
Although, be careful how quickly you want to go do CRA because I actually think it's better at the site side. Yeah, you may get paid more, but there's probably ways to figure out how to increase your income at the site level without actually being a CRA. But that's another podcast. That's 3 years from now. We can do like a part three.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Congrats. What is your role like tomorrow when you go in? Did they tell you what you're going to be doing basically, or are you just gonna have to shadow?
Yeah, they didn't really exactly say what I'm gonna be doing. So I'm just gonna go in tomorrow and you know, see what's going on. So don't know too much, but I'm excited wherever it's gonna be.
Can
Did they tell you about some of the tech they're using? Like are they using Creo or real time or anything like this?
Oh, yeah. So they have a couple of different systems that they use, but one of the pluses that I had was that they do use Creo.
Ah, okay. And we used it in the academy.
Exactly. So they did ask me, what do you think about it? Like, tell me about your experience. So that was a great plus as well, that they did use that as well. And they're trying to get more of their studies into Creo. So I think they're trying to use that more in
Hmm.
their site.
As a Creo user myself, Creo just made like a patient database. It's like a robust patient integration capability, and my site's still trying to figure it out. It's relatively new.
Mhm.
We're putting our patient ACE, which is our Chris and I with Ronick, our recruitment startup. It's like an advertising thing. Maybe you guys, when you get comfortable there, ask them if they're interested in exploring other ones. It's pretty cost effective for sites. There's a way to integrate the leads that come from Patient Ace, as an example, into Creo. We're already in their API. Shout out to Ronick, who's been making that happen, and on our end, Lana at my site end, who's been kind of facilitating that integration. Creo is capable of making it easier, I guess, to take the leads into the pre-qualification stage, because a lead is not necessarily potential patient yet. It's just a lead.
Mhm.
But once you get them through some checkpoints, it becomes a pre-qualified candidate. And really, that's your job. At least it sounds like to me, that's going to be like a huge part of your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. And that was a big plus too, that I did learn, how to use Creo in the academy as well.
Man, Chris, this must be music to your ears, Chris Supper.
Oh, absolutely. And I do have a question. Well, I actually have two. Well, one's a tangent to this. The other one's going to be completely out of left field. Um, so actually, it's more a question to Dan. I apologize, Alexis.
No worries.
So I currently have a potential student texting me, and
Currently,
yeah, and she's
tell
asked,
him or her to get on. Tell her to get on right now.
yeah, right. So I sent her a syllabus because she wanted to see a syllabus for the class. Um, she says she's very interested, but our website for the academy says that experience is required to take the course. And I told her that shouldn't be the case. The website should not say that.
No, I
So,
won't say that. It will say a bachelor's or higher is required.
okay. All right. Just clarifying with you. And I told her,
Experience is required usually to get hired. If she
okay.
sees that, that might be on there somewhere.
Well, I asked her to send me an image because it shouldn't say that. The course
Yeah,
is
it shouldn't say
specifically
that.
designed for research naive. And you would agree with that, right, Alexis?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
And it's
great.
possible. I, highly recommend, because it really did get my foot in the door into the industry.
And I may have missed this because I was looking at text, but do you think the academy did help you get your foot in the door? Like, did the certificate or your experience in the class in any way help you in that
Oh yeah,
regard? Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
because I was thinking, back 2022 when I first took this other course, I was like, yeah, I want to do this, but I felt way more prepared after taking the CRA Academy. Like I knew what I was talking about. I knew, like I felt like I was ready to start in the industry and well prepared. And I really feel like the class was great to give me all of the knowledge and the training, but really the internship, because in my interviews they really asked me about that, like the hands-on experience. That's one thing they really wanted to know about. And that's a great plus to the CRA Academy, is that there's a lot of classes that don't have that, but I really
Hmm.
feel like you need that one, just so that you get an understanding, like, is this a really good fit for me? But also just so like what it can be like and what you're getting into.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now the completely out of left field statement question. And I mean no offense by this. So Dan's probably
None,
like,
none
uh-oh,
taken. Oh,
uh-oh.
offensive to Alexis, you're saying.
Correct.
Me?
Ah.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, and this has nothing to do with you and not your fault, but I think that for a female right now, the two worst names are Karen and Alexis that you could possibly be
Why
named.
Alexis? Everyone knows Karen, but what am I missing on Alexis?
So somebody's walking down the mall, sees Alexis. Hey, Alexis, and 14 iPhones go off.
Oh,
You
because of
know,
Alexa? Or
yes, because it
yeah.
answers to
Ah,
Alexis too. So it would just suck, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't have any, unfortunately, because it would just be too annoying.
Yeah,
that would
every time
suck
you
in the
get called,
house. That would suck in the
every
house.
time you get called, it would be going off. Oh, that would so
No,
irritate.
that's good. That's main character energy, Chris. That's
No, that would aggravate me to no end.
You just gotta turn it into a positive, I guess, right?
Yeah, I
Yes.
suppose. Is this the first time you've heard this? Me
No,
bringing this
no,
up? No,
no.
I
I've
wouldn't think so.
I've heard it, but nobody has asked me directly, Uh,
Okay.
But yes, I have heard it, and I do understand what you're saying. We definitely can't have an Alexa in our
Yeah.
house.
If you
Yeah.
lived in my home, I would just change our Alexa. You can change the prompt. You can call it whatever you want. I
Yeah.
would
In
have to
response to
change it.
that, I'm not
Yeah,
an iPhone person,
yeah,
so, or Apple person. I don't know these things, but I can only envision how that would be aggravating for
yeah.
me.
Karen, I can understand. There's way too many Karens now, though, and not all of them behave like Karens.
And yeah, it applies in a very negative
Very
way.
different
So
way to Alexa, but no, Alexa, this is awesome. I think you've demonstrated a lot. By the way, everyone's you can go connect with Alexis right now. Her LinkedIn is underneath the video and in the show notes in the podcast. Let's get her connections going. Um, how have you been using, just as we end, how have you been using LinkedIn? I know you've been applying to a lot of jobs prior, but now that you're in a different state, have you been using LinkedIn just commenting or I guess lurking as what they call it, like other people's posts, or what are you using it for now, if
Yeah,
anything?
yeah. So now more so just to one, gain more information just about what's going on in the research world right now. Commenting on posts, resharing, so that people can see, and also just trying to connect, with more people and trying to grow my network as well, since I'm more on the more entry level or newer side.
Yeah, I'm seeing it here. So everybody go connect with Alexis right now. Congratulate her on just getting hired. And if you're watching this and it's getting close to SOS time, say hi to her when you're there. Hopefully you get a ticket. And Alexis, just remind me and Chris, so we're gonna fly you out there and take care of the room somehow.
Okay.
That's
I
why I
really,
said Chris might get mad.
yeah.
Okay,
so
Chris,
just
go
have
ahead. Wrap it
just
up.
update real quick, update. The student actually did send me an image and it does say that on the website.
Really? We gotta talk to Ivan about this. Well, I can
Yes.
fix it right now.
Right.
When you
So
want something done right, you gotta do yourself.
this
We
is
got people
absolutely
taking
true.
care of the website. Luckily, I've got the login, so I can go in there right now, tell the student, shout out to her for finding that out, and I'm gonna go in there and fix it. And
Yeah.
we'll send her a book.
And I can tell you no experience is required. I, you know, definitely
That's
Mhm.
right.
need that.
Ivan, what are you doing, man? You fumbled it right now. Fumbled the ball. All right, Alexis, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing you there in Oklahoma City. Only what, 2 hour flight from Houston?
Yeah,
OKC to
not
Houston?
far at all. Yeah.
Maybe
Not,
less.
might be less actually. It's 45
Okay.
to Dallas, so
Oh, not
Oh,
bad. Not
45
bad.
Dallas, probably another 45 to Houston. So
You could drive it in 8 too if that was your choice. If you hated flying, I
nah,
wouldn't do
nah,
it.
we're gonna
I
pay
wouldn't
for
do
her
it. No, no,
flight.
no, of course not. I wouldn't do it, but some people don't fly.
no, I don't mind. I live close to the airport, so it wouldn't be too.
Perfect. Perfect.
Thank you so much. Chris, any last minute
No, but it was very much
statements?
no, not really. I already made my joke and so yeah.
You
But
did
it
your
was
role as co-host very well today and
oh
texting simultaneously students.
yeah, thank you, sir. So it was a pleasure meeting you, Alexis. How long until you're a CRA or is that a future plan still?
Yeah, it's definitely a future plan. I'm gonna see. I mean, who knows? I might really fall in love with patient recruitment.
You
I'm pretty
see,
open at the
she
moment.
already
So
knows. She got the PC answer down. Now that I'm hired, Chris, my focus is on my job.
Certainly, certainly.
Good
But
job.
most people when they take the academy, that's what they're initially thinking they want to do. Dan and I actually tell people you may be surprised you may not want to do this. You may be happy with a
I
different
literally told
happier.
her that we've seen CRAs crying
Yep.
in our site. Alexis, the thing is, now you're going to learn, and this is why SOS is going to be good for you too, just personally, not just, it's obviously going to be good for your company because you're going to get exposure without having to pay for it. But for you personally, you'll see, like, if you join the right site at the right time, it's probably better than going to work for a CRO or a sponsor. And
mhm.
that's going to be a decision you're going to have to make, microeconomics 101 over time. But right now, I think you've done a really good job getting yourself hired in a tough market. Let's face it, like that's no small task. So kudos to you, and that's a testament to your dedication.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you both for the CRA Academy and your guidance. I definitely feel like I would not be where I am at this moment if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you.
Ah, very kind words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. Everybody go connect with her right now. Bye-bye.